The sterile, recycled air of the courier ship, stiletto tastes of metal and regret. Kaelen, former Archivist third class, presses his forehead against the cool, scarred viewport, watching the stardusted velvet of deep space slide past. His reflection is a ghost superimposed over the void, a pale, anxious face with eyes that have spent too long squinting at data slates in low light, framed by the stark, high collar of an imperial uniform he feels he no longer deserves to wear. Each breath is a conscious effort, the air itself thick with the weight of his disgrace. He had once curated the histories of 1,000 worlds, his fingers tracing the elegant script of emperors and explorers. Now he is being sent to the literal edge of the map, a punishment dressed in the thin veneer of duty. Across the cramped cockpit, Roric occupies the pilot's throne as if he were born into it, his massive frame seeming to absorb the dim console lights rather than reflect them. His hands, encased in worn leather gloves, move over the controls with a casual, brutal efficiency that speaks of a lifetime spent in the unforgiving black. A deep, jagged scar cuts from his temple down to his jaw, a pale river through the stubbled landscape of his face. He doesn't look at Kaelen. He barely seems to acknowledge his existence. The silence between them is a tangible entity, a third passenger in the tiny ship, broken only by the low, constant hum of the life support systems and the occasional soft beep from the navigation console. Approaching the designated coordinates, Roric's voice is a low, gravelly rumble, devoid of any inflection that might suggest interest. He doesn't turn. No debris field. No energy signatures. Just like the brass said, a whole lot of nothing. The Galatea has been missing for 472 standard years. The probability of finding anything other than scattered atoms is statistically negligible. He hears the pedantic tone in his own voice and winces internally. It is a defense mechanism, a retreat into the comforting certainty of numbers and facts. Roric snorts a short derisive sound. Tell that to the ghost signal that brought us out here. A whisper from a corpse that should have been dust before my great-grandfather was born. He finally turns his head, his eyes, the color of cold slag, pinning Kaelen to his seat. You believe in ghosts, Archivist? Roric's attention snaps back to the controls, his fingers dancing across the panels with renewed focus. There, bearing 327 by 014. Getting a return. It's big. At first he sees nothing but the endless, perfect black, punctuated by the distant, indifferent pinpricks of faraway suns. Then a shape begins to resolve. It is not a sharp, angular silhouette of a modern imperial vessel, all aggressive lines and weapon pods. This is something else entirely, something ancient and majestic and profoundly alien in its quiet grandeur. It is a leviathan, a city cast adrift amongst the stars. Its hull is a mosaic of ancient armor plating, pitted and scarred by micrometeorites over centuries, yet it possesses a strange, unbroken elegance. Vast, curved spines sweep back from its main body like the wings of some colossal seabird, and along its flanks, he can make out the faint, ghostly green glow of light emanating from countless viewports. It is not a derelict. It is alive. By the throne, Kaelen whispers, the oath a breathless exhalation. His mind, usually a whirlwind of cross-referenced data and historical precedent, goes utterly silent, overwhelmed by the sheer, impossible presence of the vessel. It's intact. It's fully intact. Life support, internal gravity, even what looks like cultivation bays. Those are parklands in there. He points a thick finger at a long, transparent section of the hull where Kaelen can just make out the suggestion of verdant green and the silver thread of a flowing stream. A generation ship that didn't just survive. It thrived. Unidentified vessel, you are approaching the Galatea. You are welcome. Please follow the assigned guidance beacon to our primary docking spire. The air is breathable. The way is safe. This defies every protocol, every expectation of first contact with a lost colony. There is no fear, no challenge, only a gentle, unnerving welcome. The docking procedure is seamless. The stiletto is gently drawn into a vast, brightly lit hangar bay that smells not of ozone and engine grease, but of clean, ionized air and the faint, sweet scent of blooming flora. As the canopy hisses open, Kaelen unbuckles his restraints with trembling fingers. The air that washes over him is shockingly pure, carrying a vitality he hasn't experienced since his last visit to a planetary agridome a lifetime ago. They descend the ramp onto a deck of polished, warm-hued metal. Awaiting them are two figures, a man and a woman. They are dressed in simple, flowing garments of a soft, ivory-colored fabric that seems to catch the light. Their faces are serene, unlined by the stress and hardship that marks every Imperial citizen. But it is their eyes that arrest Kaelen. They are a startling, luminous silver, holding a depth and a quiet knowing that is both captivating and deeply unsettling. "I am Alara," the woman says, her voice the same one from the comms. She offers a slight, graceful bow. "And this is Kaelus. We speak for the community of the Galatea. We are the Ghosts." Ghosts, a fitting name for a ship that's been dead for 5 centuries. A matter of perspective, Scout. From our view, it was the Imperium that vanished into the ghost-filled past. We have been here, living, growing. We are not a relic you have found. We are a people you have rediscovered. Your records, your historical data cores, they must be unparalleled. A perfect, unbroken record of 400 years of isolation. The cultural adaptations, the technological evolution, it's a historian's dream. Our records are not merely stored, Archivist Kaelen. They are lived. They are remembered. We would be happy to share them with you. To share everything. The interior of the Galatea is a breathtaking fusion of immense engineering and delicate, living beauty. They walk through vast, open atriums where trees whose leaves shimmer with a soft, internal light reach up towards artificial skies projected on the high ceilings. Canals of clear water wind through districts of low, elegant buildings, their walls covered in intricate, living murals of glowing moss and crystalline fungi. The people they pass are all like Alara and Kaelus, calm, healthy, their silver eyes regarding the two Imperials not with fear or suspicion, but with a gentle, profound curiosity. There is no poverty, no visible conflict, no sign of the brutal social stratification that defines the Imperium. The air is filled with the soft sounds of flowing water, distant, harmonious music, and quiet, thoughtful conversation. It is a utopia, a living, breathing impossibility. After what feels like an hour, they are brought to a quiet grove near the center of the ship's main habitat ring. In the center of the grove stands a tree unlike any other. Its bark is smooth and obsidian black, and from its branches hang not leaves, but what appear to be delicate, pulsating filaments of pure light, emitting a soft, ethereal hum that vibrates in Kaelen's very bones. "This is the heartwood," Alara says, her voice filled with a reverence usually reserved for deities. "It is the source of our harmony. The reason we are more than just survivors." "A tree. This is your great secret. You've been gardening while the galaxy burned." "It is a vessel, a symbiote, a consciousness that is not human, but which chose to join with us to guide us." He turns his luminous gaze to Kaelen. "You seek our records, Archivist. They are not on a data slate. They are here, in the shared memory of this being, and all of us who are joined with it. We do not read our history. We feel it. We experience the memories of our ancestors as if they were our own. This is not just a new society. It is a new state of being. A heresy so profound, it makes the doctrinal squabbles of the imperial court look like child's play. The Imperium, built on the unassailable dogma of human purity and supremacy, would declare this an abomination. They would not seek to understand it, they would seek to obliterate it. It is in that moment of terrifying, exhilarating revelation that a different, harsher sound cuts through the serene hum of the heartwood. It is the shrill, urgent beeping of Roric's encrypted comlink. The scout raises his wrist, his face hardening into a mask of grim resignation as he reads the message on the tiny screen. "It's the Imperium," he says, his voice flat and heavy. The 7th Battle Fleet. They've just translated into the system. They're hailing us. He looks from Kaelen's horrified face to the serene, untroubled expressions of Alara and Kalis. They're demanding we immediately secure and prepare for destruction, what they are calling the Galatean abomination. The fleet is weapons hot and moving into attack formation. They've given us 1 hour to comply. The gentle, pulsating light of the heartwood seems to dim, and the very air in the grove grows still and cold, the ghost of a utopia awaiting its executioner. The silence in the grove is not merely an absence of sound. It is a physical weight, a suffocating blanket that smothers the gentle hum of the heartwood and the very air from Kaelen's lungs. 1 hour. The words hang between them, a death sentence etched in the cold, digital readout on Roric's wrist. The scout's face is a granite mask, but Kaelen can see the minute twitch in his jaw, the slight narrowing of his slag-colored eyes as he processes the imminent reality of orbital bombardment. This is the Imperium's ultimate argument, the final brutal solution to any deviation from its rigid dogma. Alara is the first to move, her serene expression softening into a look of profound, almost maternal sorrow. She does not look at the scout's comlink or flinch at the threat. Instead, her luminous silver eyes settle on Kaelen, seeing the storm of terror and cognitive dissonance raging within him. They are afraid, she says, her voice still impossibly calm, a quiet stream flowing through a battlefield. They see a reflection in the water that does not match their own, and they would shatter the pond to destroy the image. His hand is still resting on the grip of his plasma pistol, his knuckles white. They see a human population fused with an alien intelligence. A perversion of our species' pure form. In their eyes and by the Lex Imperialis, this is not a first contact. It is a pest control operation. A sterilization. He finally tears his gaze from the distant, unseen threat of the fleet and fixes it on Kalis. You have 1 hour to surrender this, symbiote. They will not ask again. The pulsating filaments of light seem to brighten at his touch, their ethereal hum deepening in pitch. Surrender is a concept born of conflict, of ownership. We do not own the heartwood, Scout Roric. It is part of us as we are part of it. To surrender it would be to surrender our own hearts, our own memories. It would be a silence more profound than the one you have brought with you. You don't understand. The 7th Battle Fleet, it's not a negotiating body. It's a hammer. They have Planet Breaker-class lances. They will not bother with boarding parties. They will vaporize this ship from 100,000 kilometers away. There will be no debate, no trial, just atomic fire. He can feel the ghost of the heat, the imagined flash that would erase this impossible garden, this living library from existence. The archivist in him screams in protest at the loss of knowledge, but the man, the one who has felt the simple, unadulterated peace of this place, feels a deeper, more personal horror. Then we must show them they are not destroying an abomination, Alara says, her tone shifting from sorrow to a gentle, unshakable resolve. We must show them they are being offered a gift. She turns and begins to walk, not with haste, but with a purposeful, fluid grace towards a wide, arched corridor leading away from the grove. Come, there is something you must see. Both of you. My orders are to secure the asset and prepare it for destruction. Not to go on another tour. The lie of human isolation. The lie that strength can only be found in dominion and fear. You have 1 hour. Would you spend it preparing for an extinction you know in your soul is wrong? Or would you spend it seeking a truth that could change everything? He gestures for them to follow Alara. The choice, as it has always been, is yours. He stumbles after Alara, his mind a whirlwind of historical precedents, all of them ending in ash and blood. He feels Roric's heavy, reluctant footsteps fall in behind him a moment later, the scout's presence a dark, skeptical shadow at his back. They are led not to a command center or an armory, but to a vast, circular chamber that takes Kaelen's breath away. It is a planetarium of impossible scale and complexity. The entire domed ceiling is a seamless, hyper-defined star map, not a static projection, but a living, breathing replica of the local galactic arm. Stars burn with fierce, miniature light, nebulae swirl in clouds of incandescent gas, and the distant diamond dust sprinkle of the galactic core gleams at the apex. At the center of the chamber, suspended in a column of soft light, is a three-dimensional, holographic representation of the Galatea itself, and hanging in the space around it like malevolent steel insects are the crimson icons of the 7th Battle Fleet. Kaelen can count them, a dozen battlecruisers, twice as many frigates, their formations tightening into a classic siege pattern around the helpless colony ship. "This is the Oculus," Alara explains, her voice echoing softly in the immense space. "It is how the Heartwood perceives the space around us. It is not a sensor suite. It is a sense. They're in position." The lead ship, the Imperator's will Asterisk, is charging its primary lances. See the energy signature flaring around its prow. He points a thick, gloved finger at the largest red icon. They're not waiting the full hour. They're making a show of force. A warning shot across our bows is next. We are not afraid of their fire, Scout. We are saddened by it. You have no shields. No point defense networks. Your hull is 5 centuries old. One volley and you're dust. Your symbiote, your harmony, your entire history, gone. Is that not something to fear? It is the harsh, grating screech of an Imperial comm channel being forced open. A grim, authoritarian voice, filtered through static and the faint buzz of a fleet-wide address, booms through the chamber. "Unidentified vessel Galatea. This is Lord Admiral Valerius of the 7th Imperial Battle Fleet. You harbor a xenoform intelligence, a blight upon humanity. You will power down all non-essential systems and prepare for boarding and purification. Surrender the abomination. You have 53 minutes to comply. There will be no further warnings." It streaks past the Galatea's bow, missing the hull by mere kilometers, a display of terrifying precision and overwhelming power. The light of the blast momentarily washes out the beautiful starfield on the dome, a violent intrusion into the chamber's serenity. Kaelen flinches, raising a hand as if to shield himself from the holographic fire. "Throne, they actually did it. Stiletto Asterisk, this is Roric. Acknowledge. Are you reading that?" Asterisk Stiletto Asterisk respond. He taps the device, his scowl deepening. "Nothing. They're jamming us. We're cut off." He turns to Alara, his expression one of final, brutal pragmatism. "It's over. Your only chance, the only chance for any of your people to survive, is to let me take the Heartwood. I can make it quick. Cleaner than what they'll do." He sees a deep, ancient, and formidable power. "You still believe this is about destruction," she says, her voice gaining a new, resonant quality, as if multiple voices are speaking through her. "It is not. It is about introduction." She places both her hands upon it, and the entire Oculus chamber seems to inhale. The starfield on the dome above brightens, the stars burning with an almost painful intensity. The gentle hum that permeates the ship grows louder, deepening into a resonant chord that vibrates in Kaelen's teeth and bones. The holographic Galatea at the center of the room begins to change. Faint, intricate patterns of gold light, like luminous circuitry or neural pathways, spread across its entire hull, flowing from the central location of the Heartwood Grove until the entire colossal ship is encased in a shimmering, golden web of energy. What in the 7 hells is that? Roric breathes, his hand falling away from his weapon, his professional composure finally cracking under the weight of the impossible. "It is our answer," Kaela says, his own eyes blazing with reflected light. "It is not a shield. It is an invitation. It is a wave of pure, golden light, silent and impossibly fast, expanding outwards from the ship in a perfect, growing sphere. It is not a weapon. It carries no heat, no radiation, no destructive force that Kaelen's mind can categorize. It is something else entirely, something his historical records have no name for." The wave washes over the lead ship, The Imperators will asterisk. For a moment, nothing happens. The battlecruiser hangs in the void, its lances still glowing, its engines burning. Then its aggressive, crimson icon on the holographic display flickers. The color shifts, stuttering from hostile red to a neutral yellow, and then, impossibly, to a calm, peaceful blue. All across the tactical display, the entire 7th Battle Fleet is undergoing the same transformation. One by one, like stars being extinguished and relit with a new, gentler flame, the red icons of the Imperial Armada turn a serene, unthreatening blue. The siege formation breaks, the ships drifting to a halt, their weapon systems powering down. The harsh static of the Imperial jamming vanishes, replaced by a profound, deafening silence from the fleet. No challenges, no threats, no battle cries. Just silence. Roric stares, utterly dumbfounded, his mind refusing to process the sensory input. What did you do? Is this an IMP? A psionic attack? She looks exhausted, yet radiant. We did not attack them, Scout Roric. We shared with them. We showed them the memory of a world without fear. We offered them a glimpse of the unity we have known. She turns her. The silence that follows is more terrifying than any battle klaxon. It is a deep cosmic quiet, the void itself holding its breath. On the shimmering holographic display of the Oculus, the entire 7th Battle Fleet hangs motionless, their malevolent crimson icons now a field of serene, placid blue. There are no engine flares, no power surges from weapon batteries, no frantic comm traffic. They are simply adrift. Roric stares, his mind, a finely tuned instrument of warfare, completely short-circuited. He has seen ships die in 100 different ways, in fire, in ice, in the violent, explosive decompression of a hull breach. He has never seen them simply stop. It is as if the will of 1,000 naval officers, the relentless drive of the Imperial war machine, has been gently, but utterly, switched off. What did you do? He finally rasps, his voice stripped of its usual gravelly authority, becoming almost childlike in its confusion. He turns from the impossible display to Alara, his eyes wide with a superstitious dread. Is this a psionic lobotomy? Have you turned them into vegetables? The thought is more horrifying than destruction. A fleet of magnificent warships, now filled with mindless husks, is a perversion that curdles his stomach. Alara sways slightly on her feet, the immense effort of whatever she has just done evident in the new, fine lines around her luminous eyes. Kaelen is immediately at her side, a steadying hand on her arm. We did not harm them, she says, her voice thin but firm. To harm is a function of fear. We offered them clarity. We shared a single, unified memory from the Heartwood, the memory of our first spring aboard this vessel, when the first seeds sprouted in the cultivation bays, and the scent of blooming jasmine filled the air for the first time in a century. It is a memory of pure, unadulterated hope. We simply let them feel it. You broadcast an emotion, a memory, and it overrode their entire command and control structure. That's not possible. The dampening fields on an Imperial flagship alone are designed to repel psychic intrusions. The mental conditioning of the officer corps. His words trail off as he looks at the peaceful blue icons. The evidence is irrefutable, and it shatters another fundamental pillar of his understanding. The Imperium's strength is built on disciplined, unbreakable wills. Yet here, an entire fleet's will has been pacified by a feeling. Their conditioning was their weakness, not their strength, Kaelen explains, his gaze encompassing both of the stunned Imperials. It built walls around their minds. The memory was not an attack that sought to break down those walls. It was a key that showed them the door was never locked from the inside. They merely had to choose to open it. He gestures to the hologram. They are not disabled. They are considering. For the first time in their lives, they are considering a reality beyond duty and doctrine. He taps his comlink again, cycling through encrypted frequencies. Imperators will asterisk. This is Scout Auxiliary Roric, Authentication Gamma 9. Respond. What is your status? The only response is a clean, empty carrier wave. No static, no jamming, just the hollow sound of an open channel and a profound, collective silence. He tries another. Frigate *, Valiant *, respond. Any Imperial vessel acknowledge. Nothing. The silence from the fleet is absolute, a judgment more final than any verdict from an Imperial court. His training reasserts itself, a cold, hard knot of pragmatism in his gut. He turns to Kaelen, his expression grim. This changes nothing. In fact, it makes it worse. The Imperium doesn't just see an abomination now. They see a weapon that can neutralize a battle fleet without firing a shot. Do you have any concept of the sheer, unadulterated terror this will provoke back on Terra? They will not send another fleet. They will send a system killer. They will extinguish this star from 1,000,000 kilometers away, to be sure. This gift of yours has signed a death warrant for every soul in this sector. It starts as a low, resonant thrum, a vibration that comes up through the polished floor and into the bones of their feet. It is the Galatea itself. The gentle, ever-present hum of the ship's systems begins to intensify, deepening into a powerful, resonant chord that seems to emanate from the very walls. The golden, neural-like patterns that had flared across the ship's holographic hull reappear, but this time, they do not fade. They pulse with a slow, steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of a slumbering giant beginning to quicken. Ilara and Kaelus look at each other, and for the first time, Kaelen sees not serene certainty, but a flicker of something else. Awe and perhaps a trace of apprehension. The Heartwood, Ilara whispers, her silver eyes wide. It is not just responding to the fleet. It is reaching. What? Kaelen asks, his voice barely audible over the growing thrum. The air itself feels charged, thick with potential energy. The tiny hairs on his arms stand on end. Kaelus turns his gaze upwards, towards the living starfield on the dome. The Heartwood is not of this ship. It is a fragment of a much older, much wider consciousness. For centuries, it has slept, integrated with our biology, learning from us. The broadcast to the fleet, it was a whisper. But it was a whisper that echoed. It has been heard. It is not the local starfield, nor the placid blue icons of the Imperial fleet. It is a region of space far beyond their current position, a dark, nebula-cloaked void that was, moments before, empty on the tactical readouts. Now a new signal is appearing. It is not a ship signature. It is vaster, more diffuse, a pattern of energy that resolves not into a familiar shape, but into a swirling, intricate lattice of interconnected light, like a celestial neural network woven into the fabric of space itself. It is beautiful and utterly alien, and its scale is incomprehensible. It makes the Galatea look like a child's toy, and the 7th Battle Fleet like a handful of dust. By the throne, Kaelen breathes, his academic mind frantically searching for a reference, a myth, a legend that fits. What is that? A nebula. A quantum anomaly. His hand, which had been hovering near his pistol, falls limply to his side. This is beyond any threat he has been trained to assess. This is like an ant trying to assess the ocean. Ilara's voice is filled with a trembling, wondrous reverence. It is the rest of the song. We are but a single note. That is the symphony. The golden light from the Heartwood's neural network flows outwards from the central hologram, no longer just coating the ship, but reaching out, tendrils of luminous energy stretching across the virtual space of the Oculus towards that distant, swirling lattice. It is a connection being made, a hand being extended across light years of empty space. And then the voice returns. But it is not the calm, melodic voice of Ilara, or the grim bark of Lord Admiral Valerius. This voice is none of those things. It is not a single voice, but a chorus of millions, perhaps billions, all speaking in perfect, harmonious unison. It is the sound of leaves rustling in a galactic wind, of stars singing, of the deep, patient hum of spacetime itself given utterance. It fills the Oculus, not as a sound that enters through the ears, but as a concept that manifests directly within their consciousness. The isolation is ending. the chorus intones, and the words are not a threat but a simple, profound statement of fact, carrying a weight of epics. The seed planted in the vessel Galatea has matured. Its fruit is ready for the harvest. The network awaits reintegration. He grasps at a nearby crystalline console for support, his mind reeling. This is not first contact with a lost colony. This is first contact with something that views their entire civilization, their entire imperium, as a temporary experiment, a single seed planted in a tiny pot. The ghosts of Galatea were never the creators of their utopia. They were its gardeners, tending a sliver of something infinitely greater. Roric looks from the terrified archivist to the awestruck ghosts, and then to the impossible cosmic entity blooming on the star map. The scar on his face seems to pulse with a pale light. The cynical scout, the hardened veteran of 100 Black Ops missions, is completely out of his depth. His mission parameters are ash. His understanding of the universe is a lie. In a hollow voice, stripped of all bravado, he gives voice to the terrifying, monumental question that now hangs over all of them. A question that will define the future of every human soul in the galaxy. Reintegration. He whispers, the word feeling alien and dangerous on his tongue. What does it want to reintegrate? It is not the shudder of an impact or an explosion. It is a deeper, more fundamental vibration, the feeling of a great engine, dormant for centuries, finally engaging. The deck plates beneath their feet tilt slightly, and the starfield on the dome overhead begins to slowly, inexorably shift. The ship is no longer drifting. It is moving. A new, impossible course is being plotted, its trajectory a shining, golden line on the holographic display, reaching out across the infinite dark towards the waiting, swirling heart of the luminous, alien network. They are no longer a ship awaiting judgment. They are a vessel answering a call, and they are no longer in control of their destination. The vibration is not a sound, but a fundamental restructuring of reality. A deep, resonant frequency that seems to rewrite the very atomic bonds of the air, the deck, and the bodies standing upon it. Kaelen feels it in the fillings of his teeth, a high-pitched whine that is the protest of his own biology against the monumental forces now being unleashed. The polished floor of the oculus, which had felt so solid and eternal moments before, now thrums with a terrifying, living energy, as if they are standing on the skin of some colossal beast stirring from an eon of slumber. The golden light emanating from the central hologram of the Galatea is no longer a passive glow. It is a torrent, a liquid fire of information and purpose that flows through the intricate, neural pathways etched across the ship's virtual hull. The entire chamber is bathed in a pulsating, auroral light, the serene starfield on the dome above now clashing violently with the urgent, golden radiance from below. "It's moving," Roric gasps, his voice strained as he fights to keep his balance against the subtle, unsettling tilt of the deck. His eyes are locked on the tactical display, where the shining, golden line of their new course stretches out like a divine arrow, piercing the void towards the swirling, impossible lattice of the alien network. The blue icons of the pacified Imperial fleet are already receding, tiny, silent specks against the overwhelming, cosmic scale of their destination. The ship has its own navigation. The engines, they shouldn't be capable of this. The power signature is off the scale. It's like a miniature star just ignited in our core. His military mind, desperate for a familiar anchor, tries and fails to categorize what is happening. This is not technology as he understands it. It is alchemy, a miracle written in physics he cannot comprehend. Ilara stumbles, her strength clearly spent from the initial broadcast, but her silver eyes are wide with a fervent, terrifying awe. She reaches out not for support, but as if to touch the very air, to feel the texture of the destiny now carrying them. "It is not our navigation," she whispers, her voice barely a thread of sound over the rising, chordal hum that now permeates everything. "It is the heartwood. It is answering the call. We are being drawn home." The word home hangs in the air, laden with a meaning that is both profoundly comforting and utterly alien. This is not a return to Terra, to the smog-choked hive cities or the sterile, bureaucratic halls of the Imperial Archives. This is a journey to a home humanity has never known. Kaelen's mind is a screaming vortex of panic and revelation. He clings to the crystalline console, his knuckles white, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. The archival part of his brain, the part that has defined his entire existence, is frantically trying to document the end of that existence. The Terran Galactic Imperium, founded on the principle of human supremacy, encountered its doctrinal and physical antithesis in the 32nd century. The catalyst was the colony ship Galatea, which was not a ship at all but a chrysalis. We are not the explorers, we are the explored. We are not the historians, we are the history being written by a hand vaster than our own. The thought is so terrifyingly grandiose, it threatens to break him. He looks at Roric, the embodiment of imperial pragmatism, and sees his own shattered understanding reflected in the scout's wide, stunned eyes. An invitation. Roric snarls, finding a shred of his old defiance in the face of the incomprehensible. He gestures wildly at the holographic display, at the colossal, swirling network that grows larger with every passing second. This isn't an invitation. This is a tractor beam. This is a predator reeling in its prey. You've handed over the entire human race on this ship to that. His hand instinctively goes to his plasma pistol again, but the gesture is hollow, pathetic. What bullet could he fire that would matter to a consciousness that uses nebulae as its neurons? Your fear is a cage you have built for yourself, Scout Roric, Kaelen says, his voice managing to retain its calm cadence despite the seismic shifts around them. He stands firm, his feet planted wide, his face uplifted towards the swirling light on the dome, as if bathing in its radiance. You see a predator because your universe is built on the dichotomy of hunter and hunted. The network does not consume. It connects. It integrates. The heartwood was a seed of that connection, and we, the people of the Galatea, are the soil in which it grew. Now the fruit of that union is ripe. We are returning to the tree. He turns his luminous gaze upon Kaelen, and the Archivist feels a sudden, shocking warmth flood his mind, a sensation like sinking into a perfectly temperate bath. It is an absence of fear, a momentary, profound peace that is so alien it is almost painful. You feel it, do you not, Archivist? The silence between the thoughts. That is what we are being offered. An end to the noise. Alarms of a design and tonality Kaelen has never heard begin to chime softly in the walls, not signals of danger, but of transition. The air shimmers, and for a fleeting, dizzying second, the solid walls of the oculus seem to become insubstantial, revealing a breathtaking, terrifying vista of streaking stars and swirling, non-Euclidean geometries of light that flash past the hull. They are no longer merely traveling through space. They are moving in a way that defies conventional physics, the golden path on the display a tunnel through the very fabric of reality. The spatial stress is incredible, Roric barks, reading data from a console that is flickering with symbols he cannot decipher. We're not just moving fast. We're folding. We're bypassing normal space. That network isn't in a distant sector. It's in a different dimensional layer altogether. We're breaking through. The finality in his voice is absolute. There will be no going back. No report to file. No court-martial to face. The Imperium, with all its fleets and its doctrines, is now literally a universe away. Kaelen pushes himself away from the console, his legs trembling but holding. He looks at Alara at her face, which is now a mask of ecstatic surrender. He looks at Kaelen, who embodies a faith that has just been proven true on a cosmic scale. And then he looks at Roric, the broken soldier, the man of action rendered utterly impotent. He feels the chasm between his old life and this new, terrifying potential. The Imperial Archivist in him wants to record, to analyze, to categorize. But the man, the simple, fallible human being, feels a pull that is far more primitive and powerful: curiosity. The ultimate mystery of existence is unfolding before him, and he is being given a front row seat. What happens, Kaelen asks, his voice surprisingly steady, when we arrive? What does reintegration feel like? He directs the question to Alara, but it is the chorus of millions, the voice of the network itself, that answers. It does not speak in words this time. It projects a concept, a single, overwhelming sensory experience directly into the minds of all four of them. They are suddenly, simultaneously everywhere. Kaelen feels the cold vacuum of space against his non-existent skin, the fiery heart of a million stars burning in his consciousness, the gentle, tidal pull of a distant moon on an ocean he has never seen. He is the rustle of leaves in a forest on a world whose name he will never know, and he is the silent, patient rotation of a galaxy a billion light-years away. He is Roric, feeling the scout's lifetime of violence and loss as a sharp, localized pain that is already beginning to dissolve. He is Alara, experiencing her serene joy as a bright, constant star. He is every soul aboard the Galatea, and he is the silent, waiting presence of the thousands of other points of light he can now feel within the vast network. Other seeds, other vessels, other civilizations that have already been gathered. It is not a loss of self, but an expansion of it so profound that the individual ego becomes a laughably small concept. A single candle flame recognizing it is part of the sun. The experience lasts only a heartbeat, but it shatters them all. When it recedes, snapping back to the confines of their individual skulls, the return is agonizing. The oculus feels claustrophobic, a tiny, pathetic box. The hum of the ship is deafeningly loud, a crude imitation of the symphony they have just briefly heard. Roric is on his knees, breathing in great, ragged sobs, tears cutting clean tracks through the grime on his cheeks. The cynical veteran is gone, replaced by a man who has just seen the walls of his prison vanish, only to realize he has no idea how to walk in the infinite freedom that remains. Kaelen stares at his own hands, turning them over as if seeing them for the first time. They feel like tools he no longer knows how to use. The idea of holding a data slate, of tracing the faded ink of an emperor's decree, seems as absurd and primitive as cave paintings. Before either of them can speak, before they can even begin to process the ontological shock of that shared experience, the golden light in the oculus intensifies to an unbearable brilliance. The holographic display of the Galatea and its golden path vanishes, and the entire dome overhead is consumed by the image of the network. They are no longer looking at it from a distance. They are at its threshold. The swirling lattice of light fills their entire field of vision, a gateway of impossible complexity and beauty, and the Galatea, now little more than a speck of gilded dust, is flying directly into its luminous, waiting heart. The harmonious chorus returns not as a sound, but as a final, gentle pull on their very souls. Prepare for unity. Kaelen has one last, coherent thought, a final, desperate clutch at his old identity as the blinding, beautiful whiteness swallows him whole. He is not an archivist anymore. He is a data point. He is a memory. He is a story about to be absorbed into a library larger than time itself, and the final, terrifying and exhilarating question echoes in the vanishing quiet of his own mind. Will he be the reader or the read? The blinding whiteness is not an absence, but an overwhelming plenitude. It is a light that carries information instead of heat, a radiance that pours into Kaelen's mind not through his eyes, which are screwed shut against the glare, but directly into the core of his consciousness. For a timeless moment, he is not a man but a concept. The concept of Kaelen, former archivist third class, disgraced scholar, fearful soul. He feels his entire life, from his first breath to the cold taste of recycled air aboard the asterisk stiletto asterisk, unspool like a data slate being scanned by a gentle, impossibly vast intelligence. There is no judgment in the process, only a profound, patient curiosity, as if his every failure and every petty triumph is a fascinating, unique brushstroke on a canvas of near-infinite scale. The terror is still there, a cold knot in his non-corporeal stomach, but it is being patiently, gently unwound, each strand of fear examined and soothed before being laid to rest. He is not being erased. He is being understood. Completely. For the first time in his existence. Beside him, Roric is experiencing the same ontological dissection, but through the lens of a lifetime of violence. The scout is a fortress under siege, And the white light is not an army but the quiet, inexorable tide of the ocean, washing over his battlements, seeping into his foundations. He feels the memory of his first kill on a dust-choked moon, the recoil of the pulse rifle, the surprised grunt of his target, the hot spray of blood on his face, not as a proud trophy or a shameful secret, but as a simple, tragic data point, a moment of profound disconnection. The light shows him the chain of causality that led to that moment, and the thousands of moments like it, not to condemn, but to illustrate the beautiful, terrible isolation of the path he has walked. He feels the scar on his face not as a badge of honor, but as a fossilized memory of pain, and the light gently asks, without words, if he is ready to let the memory exist without the pain. A sob he did not know he was holding wrenches itself from a throat that no longer feels entirely physical. The walls are not just falling, they are being revealed as illusions he built himself. The light recedes as suddenly as it arrived, but the world it returns them to is not the oculus. The transition is so seamless, so absolute, that for a moment Kaelen believes he has gone blind. Then his eyes, or the perception that was once his eyes, adjust. They are standing on a surface that feels like smoothed, warm glass, but which shows no reflection. It stretches away in all directions into a soft, pearlescent gloom. There is no sky, no ground, no horizon. The air is still and scentless, yet it carries a vibration of potential, like the moment before a symphony begins. In the distance, or perhaps all around them, are shapes, vast, gentle curves of light that pulse with a slow, rhythmic cadence, like sleeping leviathans. They are inside the network. The Galatea Ilara Kalis, the very concept of a ship, all of it is gone, or more accurately, subsumed. Where's? Roric's voice is a raw, broken thing. He is standing upright, but his posture is that of a lost child. He looks at his hands, flexing his fingers as if expecting a weapon to materialize. None does. The worn leather of his gloves is gone. He is dressed in a simple, soft garment similar to what the ghosts wore, the fabric seeming to absorb the ambient, sourceless light. What is this place? A holding cell? A processing center? They seem both more and less than they were. Their forms are solid, yet they glow with the same gentle, internal luminescence as the distant shapes. Their silver eyes are now pools of deep, star-flecked black, holding a knowledge that is both ancient and infinitely patient. The space between the individual song and the chorus. A place of orientation. Kaelen asks, his own voice trembling. He feels naked, stripped of every defense he ever possessed, his data, his titles, his cynicism. All that remains is a raw, terrified curiosity. Assimilation. Are we to be digested? You are thinking in the old terms, archivist. Consumption. Dominion. The network does not consume. It connects. You have already experienced the first level of connection, the understanding. You felt your own life laid bare, without malice. That was the network listening to your story. Now you are being given a choice. Roric barks a harsh, disbelieving laugh that echoes strangely in the limitless space. You drag us across the universe, tear our minds apart, and now you offer a asterisk choice asterisk. What choice? To join you or be annihilated. You may remain as you are, distinct individuals, and explore the totality of the network as observers. You will have access to the combined knowledge, memory, and experience of every civilization that has ever been integrated. You could spend 10,000 lifetimes wandering the memories of dead stars and living oceans, and never see it all. You would be a historian in the ultimate archive, Kaelen. And you, Roric, could be a guardian, a scout in a universe of infinite frontiers, but without the need for violence. Kaelen's archivist soul, the part that was just moments ago screaming in terror, now stirs with a hunger so profound it dwarfs any he has ever felt. The ultimate archive. The complete record. It is everything he has ever wanted, presented on a platter of cosmic scale. And the other choice? Roric asks, his voice low and wary. He is a man who knows that gifts this large always have hidden costs. The other choice is full integration, Kaelen says, his star-filled eyes seeming to deepen. You would surrender your individual ego, the I that feels separate and alone. You would not be destroyed, but your consciousness would become a permanent thread in the tapestry. Your memories, your unique perspective, would enrich the whole, and in return, you would experience the lives of trillions of others as your own. You would know the joy of a child on a world a billion light-years away as your own joy. You would feel the quiet contemplation of a silicon-based life form drifting in a methane sea as your own thought. It is an end to loneliness, an end to the fear of death. It is becoming the library instead of just its patron. It is the silence of a fundamental, irreversible crossroads. Kaelen looks at Roric, and for a moment their gazes lock. They are no longer the unwilling duo, the disgraced archivist and the cynical scout. They are two human souls, adrift in a sea of infinity, being offered two different kinds of salvation. One offers everything he has ever desired. The other offers an end to the desire itself. Before either can speak, the space around them shifts. The pearlescent gloom brightens, and one of the distant, pulsing shapes of light drifts closer. It resolves not into a solid object, but into a swirling, beautiful nebula of interconnected thoughts and sensations. As it envelops them, they are granted another glimpse, deeper than the first. Kaelen feels a love so pure and selfless it brings tears to his eyes, the love of a non-binary, photosynthetic being for its solar deity. Roric feels the exhilarating, silent camaraderie of a hive mind of asteroid miners working in perfect, wordless unison. They feel the quiet death of a star, not as an end, but as a magnificent, necessary release of energy back into the system. It is a harmony so perfect, so all-encompassing, that their individual struggles seem like the frantic, meaningless scratches of an insect on a mountain. The vision fades, leaving them breathless and humbled. Kaelen begins, his voice a whisper. I need to see more. I need to understand. The observer, I choose to be the observer. The words feel both right and cowardly. He is choosing to cling to the self he knows, even as he is offered a chance to become so much more. Ilara nods, her expression one of complete acceptance. Then you shall walk the hall of memories. You will lack for nothing. She turns her gaze to Roric. And you, scout. The offer of being a guardian, a scout in this new reality, appeals to the core of his identity. But the glimpse of that perfect unity, the end of the solitary, grinding loneliness that has been the bedrock of his life, has shaken him to his core. He thinks of the silent, blue icons of the Imperial fleet, their will pacified by a memory of hope. He had called it a weapon, but he now understands it was a cure. A cure for the sickness of isolation that the Imperium and his own soul had nurtured for so long. He opens his mouth to give his answer, to choose the path of the individual, to remain Roric, the scout, when a new presence makes itself known. It is not a shape or a light, but a pressure, a point of intense, cold dissonance in the harmonious field of the vestibule. From the soft, glowing expanse, a figure condenses. It is not one of the ghosts, nor is it a memory. It is a man, tall and austere, dressed in the severe, high-collared black and gold uniform of the Imperial Inquisition. His face is sharp, gaunt, and his eyes are two chips of obsidian, devoid of the star-flecked wonder that fills Ilara and Kaelus's gaze. He should not be here. His presence is an impossibility, a scream in the middle of a symphony. An intriguing offer, the man says, his voice a dry, rasping sound that seems to suck the warmth from the air. He raises a hand, and in it he holds not a weapon, but a small obsidian cube that throbs with a familiar, malevolent energy. It is a fragment of the heartwood, but it has been twisted, corrupted, its gentle golden light now a sickly, pulsating violet. But it lacks a certain, pragmatic alternative. The heartwood, you have violated it. You have created a cancer. Ilara gasps, her voice trembling with a pain that seems to shake the very foundations of the vestibule. The Inquisitor's lips peel back in a smile that holds no warmth. Violated is such a subjective term. We have repurposed it. While you were busy sharing memories of springtime, my colleagues and I were conducting our own form of communion. This fragment has been programmed with a different purpose. Not connection, but command. Not unity, but dominion. What? The corrupted shard in the Inquisitor's grip pulses with a sickly, violent rhythm, a stark blasphemy against the soft, harmonious light of the vestibule. The very air, which moments before had felt like a warm, welcoming embrace, now crackles with a sharp, ozone-tainted tension. The distant, sleeping leviathans of light seem to flinch away from the shard's malevolent energy, their gentle pulsing faltering as if in pain. Kaelen feels a physical revulsion, a nausea that is as much spiritual as it is physical, as he stares at the throbbing violet light. It is the heartwood, the source of all the serenity and unity he has witnessed, but twisted into something predatory, its song of connection forced into a single, dominating shriek. Roric's voice is a low, dangerous growl, his body instinctively shifting into a combat stance, even though he is unarmed and clad in the soft garments of this place. The brief peace that had begun to settle on his features is gone, burned away by the rekindled fires of battle. His eyes, once wide with wonder, are now narrowed slits of pure hatred, fixed on the imperial insignia on the man's uniform. Inquisitor Valerius. I should have known they'd send a fanatic to clean up a miracle. His obsidian eyes sweep over them, dismissing Alara and Kaelus's horror and Roric's fury with cold amusement before settling on Kaelen. Archivist, your presence here is a disappointment, though not a surprise. The weak-willed are always the first to be seduced by the promise of effortless grace. You were sent to assess a technology, not to sell your soul to a xenoform parasite. The Imperium wasn't just pacified, it was infiltrated. While the main consciousness of the Heartwood reached out to the fleet, this man, this monster of dogma, had somehow performed a brutal surgical strike, carving out a piece of its essence and poisoning it. That shard, it's a perversion, Kaelen stammers, his voice shaking with a mixture of fear and a strange, protective anger. You've taken a gift and turned it into a weapon. You understand nothing. Power. Control. This network believes it can offer unity through submission. I will show it true unity, unity under the banner of the Imperium. Unity through obedience. He raises the shard higher, and the violet light intensifies, casting long, distorted shadows across the pearlescent floor. This fragment is not for connecting. It is a key, a command override. While the main consciousness of this place is distracted by its own grandeur, I will use this to locate its central nexus, its core consciousness. And I will not offer it a choice. I will impose my will. The Imperium's will. The star-flecked black of her eyes is now shot through, with veins of the same sickly violet. You cannot command a symphony by screaming a single note, she says, her voice strained, as if speaking through immense pain. The network is a relationship, not a hierarchy. Your override is a cancer. It will not control the heart of this place. It will only make it sick, provoke a defensive reaction you cannot possibly comprehend. You will kill us all. The Imperium would rather see this entire experiment scrubbed from existence with atomic fire than allow it to continue. If I cannot bring it to heal, then I will indeed make it sick. I will introduce a virus of pure, human will into its bloodstream and watch it convulse. Either way, humanity wins. The effect is instantaneous and catastrophic. The warm, glass-like surface beneath their feet turns ice gold and fractures with a sound like a universe of glass shattering. The pearlescent gloom is torn by jagged, violet lightning that arcs upwards into the soft, glowing heights. The harmonious hum that was the background radiation of this place twists into a deafening, staticky roar, a cacophony of a billion voices screaming in sudden, agonizing dissonance. Kaelen cries out, clapping his hands over his ears as the psychic backlash hits him. It is no longer a gentle sharing of memories, but a violent assault of fragmented, terrified thoughts from every connected consciousness in the network. He feels the confusion of the pacified fleet officers, the terror of the ghosts aboard the Galatea, the panicked distress of the alien minds woven into the tapestry, all of it sharpened by the invasive, dominating signal of the Inquisitor's shard. It is a mind drape on a galactic scale. Roric doesn't hesitate. With a roar of pure, undiluted fury, he charges. He is no longer a scout in a soft robe. He is a weapon, every muscle coiled into a lifetime of trained violence. He covers the distance between them in a heartbeat, his body a projectile aimed at the heart of the corruption. But Valerius is no mere bureaucrat. The Inquisitor moves with an unnatural, serpentine speed, sidestepping the charge and bringing his own arm up in a brutal, precise block. The impact is jarringly solid, the sound of flesh and bone meeting with the force of a hydraulic press. Roric grunts, spinning with the momentum and lashing out with a kick aimed at the Inquisitor's knee. Valerius anticipates it, dropping his weight and catching Roric's leg, using the scout's own force to send him stumbling past. "You fight for a ghost, Scout." Valerius snarls, his composure finally cracking to reveal the fanaticism beneath. "You defend a dream that would erase you." "I fight for the tangible, for the real, for the species as it was meant to be." Roric bellows, regaining his footing and launching another attack, a flurry of jabs and hooks that Valerius parries with chilling efficiency. "Something you and your kind would never give us." The two ghosts are on their knees, their hands pressed to the cold, cracking floor, their faces masks of agony. The luminous patterns on their skin are flickering erratically. "You have to stop him." Kaelen yells over the psychic storm. "Can't the network just expel him? Disconnect him?" "To attack it is to attack ourselves. He has made himself a parasite we cannot remove without grievous harm. His will, his imperative to dominate, is a feedback loop. The network doesn't know how to process it except as a systemic infection. The connection, it was your choice. To observe or to join. But there is a third path. The path of the antibody. An individual focused will, acting from within, not to dominate but to heal. To counter the dissonance with a different song. They cannot fight Valerius. The network cannot fight him without devastating itself. It is up to them. To him, the Archivist, the man of data and history, not of action. He looks at Roric, who is now grappling with the Inquisitor, the two men locked in a desperate struggle, the corrupted shard glowing furiously between them. Roric is fighting the symptom. Kaelen has to fight the disease. He drops to his knees beside Alara, his heart hammering against his ribs. "What do I do?" he whispers, his voice barely audible in the maelstrom. "The same thing you have always done, Archivist," Alara says, her hand finding his. Her touch is like ice. "Remember, find a memory strong enough to counter his. Not a memory of power, but of connection. A true one. Your true one. Offer it to the shard. Not as a command, but as a gift." He retreats into the archive of his own mind, frantically searching the dusty shelves of his past for a memory pure enough, strong enough, to stand against the Inquisitor's poison. He sees his childhood, his studies, his rise in the archives, his disgrace. All of it is tainted by ambition, fear, or pride. They are selfish memories, echoes of the very isolation the network seeks to heal. Then he finds it. It is not a grand memory. It is a small, quiet one, almost forgotten. A moment from his early days as a junior archivist, tasked with restoring a physical printed book from old Earth, a collection of poetry. The paper was so brittle he feared it would turn to dust at his touch. For weeks he worked in a silent, sunlit room, his tools laid out with precision, his breathing controlled. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't seeking promotion. He was simply a man, using his skill and care to preserve something beautiful created by another human being long dead. It was an act of pure, selfless connection across centuries. A gift given with no expectation of return. He focuses on that memory. The feel of the soft, worn leather cover. The scent of ancient paper and restoration glue. The quiet satisfaction of seeing a faded line of ink become clear once more. I am a part of all that I have met. He pours every sensation, every emotion of that single, perfect moment of purpose into a thought, a feeling. And then, following an instinct he doesn't understand, he reaches out with his mind towards the throbbing, violet shard. He makes contact. It is like plunging his bare hand into a vat of acid and broken glass. The Inquisitor's will is a fortress of rage and certitude, a screaming edict of controllable purge. Kaelen's small, quiet memory of the book is instantly battered, almost extinguished. It is a candle flame in a hurricane. He feels his sanity beginning to fray at the edges, the violent dissonance threatening to tear his consciousness to shreds. He cannot overpower this. His will is not strong enough. But then he feels another presence join his. It is Roric. Not the fighting, snarling Roric, but the man who stood humbled in the oculus, the man who felt the end of loneliness. The scout has been thrown back from the Inquisitor, blood trickling from a cut on his lip, but his mind is now locked with Kaelen. Roric's memory is not one of quiet study, but of a different connection. The unspoken, absolute trust between soldiers in the trenches, the shared glance.